All right. Well, thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be back in the wonderful state of North Dakota. This is my fourth Grand Farm event, and look forward to coming back every year, making the drive up to Fargo. I am the CEO of Kelly Hill's Unmanned Systems. It is a technology enablement platform to help commercialize autonomous systems in agriculture. So that's a little bit of a mouthful. I'll get into it in a second. First, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Nemaha County, Kansas. So that's in the far northeast corner. Pretty much all dry land up there, not very much irrigation. I am seventh generation, so my ancestors moved there in 1857, and we pretty much haven't left. So I know there's a lot of folks and people like that in North Dakota, South Dakota as well. Pretty standard operation. Some things a little odd, right? Like the hog market really has changed over time. We still do have just our own hogs. We're not contracted out by anybody. But the one thing that's unique to me, but is common amongst a lot of farmers out there, is they're very resourceful. So my family was very innovative and always pushing the edge of technology. One of my favorite pieces of technology that we built a lot of stuff, is our self-propelled sprayer. Obviously, when the Rogators came out, they were very expensive. A lot of the people who could afford them were larger ag retailers, and at the time we wanted one, had a need for one, and couldn't come up with the money for that. So we built that out of military surplus parts and a cab off of a Case 2470, and it would go 45 miles an hour down the road, drop it into low gear, spray your fields, and come back. So this is the first iteration. Those booms did not last very long, and we changed some things. And over time, obviously, we're able to get a hold of a more viable option. But my dad worked for a company called Outback Guidance. He still works there. He's been there 20 years. And so we would take trips retrofitting the newest, semi-autonomous technology onto tractors all over the U.S. So we use that for a lot of testing operations and applications. I spent a lot of time in the manure spreader with new firmware additions, and pretty much I'd get a can of pop if I could make it mess up, document it, do it 3 times, and then give it back to the product team. So that was kind of my life, right, of how to get this new ag technology and get it commercialized. There's a lot of testing. Before we get into Kelly Hill's Unmanned Systems, these are my bosses. So I'm also the Chief Technology Officer at Heine Brothers Agri-Services. It's an aerial application and full-service ag retail operation based out of northeast Kansas. But we fly airplanes and helicopters in pretty much every state west of the Mississippi River. And it started all with those 2 guys, one airplane, right, that was co-signed by their dad back in 1994. They also grew up in Nemaha County, and these are kind of some of the industries that they operate in now. Our main one is aerial application and firefighting, and they still do farming and ranching. So every time we see new technology, I obviously have the conversations that I have with my family, but also my bosses who are in it today, farming and ranching, of why this is exciting, but why it doesn't work, what needs to change. So and this is a little bit just about aerial application in general. So 103-year-old industry, the typical, applications that we do there. How Kelly Hill started, I guess, is we were looking at what the last 30 years looked like for the business and what the next 30 years look like. And obviously, one of the big things for us was the new wave of technology is coming out, spray drones. Those are not going to go anywhere. We knew that. The first one probably was introduced around 2014. That would have been Yamaha out in California. And we've seen just a really nice uptake of this technology and cool systems built by DJI, XAG, Helio, these battery-powered systems that were unlocking a lot of great potential for growers and non-traditional aerial applicators, allowing them to get into markets they weren't able to do before. It kind of created some new challenges for us on the business side, but also some new opportunities. There early on was probably some FAA hiccups. I think a lot of that has been addressed. There's still obviously work that needs to be done here and in other countries as well to make sure these things are just fully autonomous and rocking and rolling. But we've come a long ways. As we continue to search for solutions for this, we decided we needed something with a lot longer flight time. We wanted to use our existing infrastructure, the airports that we have or operate off of across the U.S. We wanted to operate from those and just kind of plug in or augment the next technology. Reason being, number one was pilot safety. So when you're running an air tractor and there's power lines or trees or it's cut up next to a road or a community, houses, the pilots get put in some situations that are pretty dangerous. As we know, aerial application is a very dangerous industry. And we figured, well, heck, instead of fighting these things, maybe we put the robots in the really dangerous spots and we keep the airplanes in the safer areas. It's kind of a win-win. But the first problem was these things need to fly farther, these things need to fly longer. So just like here in North Dakota, I leverage a UAS test site and part of the Beyond program that allows us to work with people who are interfacing with the FAA and helps us get some of these technologies that may not be legal to fly right off the cuff, but in a testing environment, you certainly can fly them. And we're trying to work with those companies, the ones that we found here, built in the U.S. or in other places of the world, and get them to a more commercialized state. This is the first one that made its way out to Kansas. This is the Pica Spray Pelican. It holds 100 gallons. Legally right now, because of weight constraints, we fill it to 74 gallons. It's the largest aircraft ever approved by the FAA for commercial operations. So that is in any industry, not just agriculture. It's 38-foot wingspan. It's essentially a Cessna 172. This thing can fly for roughly 45 minutes to an hour, and obviously starts to address our need to operate off of existing infrastructure. And we've had several conversations with this company and with others who have heard of it. They said, well, do you think, a farmer would want to use that? I don't think a farmer would ever want to use that. I said, I don't know that farmers are considering like, hey, I need a fixed wing spray drone. But I think what farmers are is very resourceful, like I mentioned before. So 400 feet of flat grass mowed down is a pretty easy problem to solve. And this thing can go land. So we found this company and several others, and we held a grand opening. So my grand opening, it was 3 weeks ago now. We had people from 30 states, 6 countries, and 121 companies coming to learn how we can collaborate and drive this type of technology to pure commercialization. This is one right form factor. There'll be fixed wing, multi-rotor, even more hybrid air platform systems that will all find their niche and where they fit. People often ask, do you think this will replace the spray plane? And I guess I've coined a term that cowboys still ride horses. So I think that this type of technology will be very useful for a lot of people, but the air tractor and the ground rig applicator will always have a spot that makes a lot of sense. Maybe where a four-wheeler or dirt bike couldn't make it, but a horse still can. So I think there's room for all of these. And we had this company, we had a spray drone built in Louisiana. It's a gas-powered spray drone, holds 25 gallons at our day as well. And then an autonomous helicopter company you guys will get to learn about in a little bit. And also supporting technologies around that. So it's not about just having a really cool spray drone, it's about the software, the hardware, all of the other pieces that get involved in making this truly autonomous. A big spray drone is awesome, but to make this really beneficial for growers, especially out in the West, who are trying to manage a lot of land, we want real autonomy. We want these things kind of docking on a farm or at a local service station, flying when they need to be, kind of on an automated schedule. So that's our vision. We then took this and went to the Farm Progress Show, and there we won an award for newest exciting new technology. And then what's next? So how this all ties together with North Dakota is we're working with Thales and Vantis to bring beyond visual line of sight flight down to Kansas. I think North Dakota has done a fantastic job of taking the lead on this. I'm very appreciative of their work in this area. This will allow farmers and pretty much just any aircraft in any industry across the U.S. to operate. I think it would be foolish for Kansas to go kind of set up their own system or Oklahoma to set up their own when there's a great lead such as Thales and Vantis that already exist. It really just needs to be spread out throughout the United States. So how do we work together, or what does this look like? If you're out there and you're a large OEM, or you're an ag retailer, or a startup company who's working at autonomy, I'd love to talk to you. I say it's pretty easy, 4 steps: define the problem, source the tools, collaborate, and commercialize. A lot of this is all about collaboration, which you've seen works fantastic in Silicon Valley. Started with some silicon, and people started building computers, and then we had software and social media networks, and everything just kind of spawned out of there. I know the folks at Grand Farm have talked about that before, and I think that's something that is being emulated well here in North Dakota, and we can spread that down throughout the greater Midwest as well. So I'd love to talk to you all afterwards, and thanks for your time.